This is the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC Halftime Report, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. For hot and wow, call Domino's. Now.
Welcome back to our studios in New York, everyone. Along with Joe Gibbs, Mike Ditka, Chris Collinsworth, I'm Greg Gumble. The scores, as we have them now, the game that you are watching at halftime, New England 6 and Dallas 6. I always give you credit. I asked you earlier if you expected an offensive explosion, and you said, no.
No, I didn't. And, you know, but I think Ray Perkins for the Patriots has done a nice job calling the plays. He loses Sam Gash, so you think they're not going to be able to run the football. But what they've done is everything's been off the passing game. They drop back, throw it, then they drop back, dump off a little screen, drop back the next time, run a little draw play. So everything that comes off of the passing game, and it gets Dallas moving backwards, and it gives them the ability to run the football despite the fact that they don't have their power fullback in there.
And Mike, I know you said early on that if the Patriots lose this game, you pointed to a couple of stalls in the red zone which resulted in field goals.
Well, there really is, and they haven't capitalized on the opportunities they've had. It's squandered opportunities, but the problem in the game right now really is Bledsoe is more of the problem than he is a help. They're running the ball good. Their defense is playing outstanding football, pressuring the quarterback, good coverage, stopping the running game. They're doing all the things Bill Parcells would like to have happen, except the quarterback is trying to do too much by himself right now.
Joe?
I think we thought the mismatch was going to be Aikman having a big day. And really, he's well under 100 yards, somewhere around 77 yards. And the big thing, like Mike said, hey, he's getting pressured, 2 sacks. I mean, I thought that's where the mismatch would come. You got to give the Pats a call on defense.
All right, Troy Aikman is having his share of bumps and grinds in the backfield, but right now it's a field goal contest and a 6-6 tie, Dallas and New England. In Pittsburgh, the Steelers are now trailing the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 22-0. Steve Young having a pretty good day. In fact, this San Francisco team has come out fired up.
Yeah, they really were. And we talked about in the pregame show about the embarrassment of a week ago against Carolina. Not only the fact that they lost that game, but they got humiliated with the way that they played themselves. They came right out, got a break early in this game, a fumbled punt return by Pittsburgh, just seemed to set the ball in motion for them.
And Jerome Bettis with the ailing ankle, just 5 carries, 8 yards so far, Joe.
Well, this isn't their kind of game right here, being behind. And I think really very similar to Kansas City, Pittsburgh has a problem at quarterback production, particularly if they get behind. They like to run the ball, play defense. Now they're behind. Tomczak right now has something like 50 yards passing. I mean, it's tough for them to come back, I think, with Tomczak playing quarterback for them.
All right, Joe. In Carolina, the Panthers, riding a 5-game winning streak, are tied with Baltimore at 10-10. Kevin Green, excuse me, leading a group of 7 Panthers headed to the Pro Bowl. Vinny Testaverde's first pass of the day picked off by Chad Cota, who returns it 20 yards to the Baltimore 30. It led to a John Casey field goal and a 3-0 Panther lead. Or 3-0 Panther lead, Baltimore lead. It was Testaverde scrambling to his right later on and lofting one up for Michael Jackson, who makes it a juggling catch. Testaverde's 30th touchdown of the season. 7-3 Baltimore in the second. Anthony Johnson caps a 66-yard drive with a 2-yard touchdown run, his 6th of the season. He is over 1,000 yards for the year, and at the moment, that game is tied at 10 apiece. Mike.
You make the point Anthony Johnson goes over 1,000 yards, and you wonder what coaching or system has to do with a football player. Here's a guy that wasn't good enough to make the New York Jets. A year ago, he goes over 1,000 yards with an expansion team, Carolina Panthers. Must be something to the guy. All right,
Mike, in Detroit, the Lions, losers of 7 of 8, are looking to make it 8 out of 9. They trail the Green Bay Packers 10-0. Brett Favre having a good day throwing a football. In Minnesota, the Vikings, winners of 3 of their last 4, are tied with Tampa Bay at 7 apiece at halftime. In the Meadowlands, the New York Giants hosting and trailing the New Orleans Saints, 7-0 the score there. And in Atlanta, the St. Louis Rams with a 24-10 lead on the Atlanta Falcons. When we come back, we'll preview the second half of our doubleheader, Oakland at Denver.
This is the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC Halftime Report, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. For hot and wow, call Domino's. Now.
Welcome back, everyone. The game that most of you will see is the second half of our doubleheader today is Oakland at Denver. The Broncos have sewn up home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs, but they come off a 41-6 loss at Green Bay, albeit without John Elway. The Raiders are 7-7. They still cling to playoff hopes. With a report, we go to Mile High Stadium. Dick Enberg, Paul McGuire, and Phil Simms.
And Greg, a chance today again to witness one of the greats in NFL history, John Elway. We saw without Elway what the Broncos were like at Green Bay a week ago. They have not won in the 90s without Elway, who in the first game at Oakland delivered this 49-yard touchdown pass to Rod Smith to seal a 22-21 win, and Elway rushed for 70 yards as well. In his 14th year, he moves up in the all-time rankings. Passing yards, attempts, completions, only 2 men in history have been better than Elway. And more importantly, Elway answers the call. He has missed only 10 games in his 14-year career. And furthermore, a statistic that will underline his greatness as an NFL quarterback. Today, a victory against Oakland, and no one in history has started at quarterback and won more games for his team. Those are pretty nice credentials.
No, those are great credentials, and John Elway, I think, is the greatest quarterback physically to ever play in the National Football League. The way he can move around and throw the football with power and accuracy. And a couple weeks ago, this play right here illustrates everything that he's been about his whole career, getting out of trouble and then throwing a rocket shot to the back of the end zone for a touchdown. And when you watch him in person, being an ex-quarterback, you watch him and you just say, wow, this guy is really something.
Yeah, whether you're a broadcaster or a fan or a fellow player, you like to watch number 7. But there's a youngster on the other side of the line of scrimmage that's drawn some attention as well.
Yeah, it's a really amazing 5'9" Napoleon Kaufman. You talk to the Denver Broncos defense about this team, and you would think, well, hey, they got all these guys on the outside. They've got a track team catching the ball. But the one guy that they're worried about is this guy, number 26, Napoleon Kaufman. Leads the National Football League with over 6 yards a carry. Only carries the ball like 15 times a game. But with that 15 times a game, he is murder.
Well, Elway aside, these are the 2 top rushing teams in the entire National Football League. The Broncos trying to get back on that winning path. The Raiders looking for a playoff spot. Greg?
All right, Dick, guys, thanks very much. Now, it seems we spend a good portion of every season saying, what's wrong with the Oakland Raiders? So what's wrong with the Oakland Raiders?
I think that Mike White's trying to keep too many people happy, and these guys know more about this than I do, but he's trying to keep Jeff Hostetler and Tim Brown with the passing game. He started Harvey Williams at the running back position last week, keeps playing Ricky Dudley despite the fact that he can't catch a ball at the tight end position. And, Mike, I think there comes a point in time where you have to say, we run the football with Napoleon Kaufman. That's the best thing that we do, and you got to stay with it.
Chris, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the worst thing a coach can do is start trying to please the players too much. I mean, you've got to set down a philosophy of what your philosophy is as an organization, as a team. Are you going to run the ball? Are you going to pass the ball? Are you a defensive team? You must get that down, and then you must adhere to it. You can't bounce around because things don't go exactly the way you want them to run. Run the ball, be consistent running the ball, and everything else will work out.
And, Joe, you add to the whole mix the fact that these teams just don't like each other very much.
What happens in these divisional rivalries when you're playing somebody twice a year? Things start to add up. We know that Oakland in the past has said about Denver, we think we got their number. Last year, Denver jumps back in their face, knocks them out of the playoffs at the end of the year, and then throw into that mix their coach, Shanahan, was at Oakland. He comes back. You can tell why these coaches, they say they're uptight. Hey, this would help ruin his season, getting beat at home by the Oakland Raiders. He doesn't like them.
All right, Joe, most of you will see Oakland at Denver. Some will get Indianapolis at Kansas City. Others will see Cincinnati at Houston. And our NFL and NBC halftime activities continue.